for seeing UMass for the second time on Sunday, and obviously coming off of a big road win against GW. So just recap that one first.
Well, coming off of a difficult weekend last weekend at home, didn't play well and just had a lot of things going against us just in terms of internally, just not being mentally right and ready, not understanding, what's required as you head into February to continue to improve, and you can't stay the same. And I think, our team did a really nice job with our approach, finishing that game, having Sunday and Monday, very short turnaround to travel to go to GW. And I thought we showed some resilience. We got off to a tough start. Some of the same cracks in the ceiling, so to speak, showed their ugly heads at the beginning of the game, but we were able to kind of get our bearings. And I thought Zeke played a big role in that, as did Brandon. Both guys, I thought really stepped up and played, some of their best basketball of the season. And were able to, really at halftime go in there with some confidence. And I thought in the second half played, maybe our best half of basketball of the season. And anytime you can go on the road and win by 1 point, it's a tremendous feat. For us to be able to win the game like we did, I think speaks to, our commitment level to each other. And just in getting off of that game, I think the big thing is to continue to stay with that, trying to build a culture and trying to have a group to establish a culture. The winning and the losing and the going through the grind of a season is one thing, but doing things the right way is way more important as we come down these next however many weeks. And that's what we're looking forward to as we head to Sunday. UMass will be an extremely difficult challenge. Frank and his staff and his team are excellent. They compete as hard as anybody in our league. They're by far the most physical team in our league. Their offensive rebounding and just the overall physicality of the game wears you down. And playing at their place, they're very successful there. And I know going into the game, we're going to have to be much more prepared than we were the first game that we played them. The first game that we played them, balls went in. And I'm not necessarily saying it was good offense at times. We had one of those days where some shots went in, and we had a very, very good game in terms of being able to win it. But they didn't have Matt Cross, who I think is one of the best players in our league. I think that Diggins and Cohen and their point guard plays excellent. Their young guys are doing a great job. So they had a very difficult game, 50-50 game last night at St. Bonaventure, which they very easily could have won just as they lost. And, so I think, coming in here in the back half of the league, this is the back-to-back road swing. We got a difficult challenge, and we're going to have to do things the right way, and we're going to have to really be ready to go Sunday afternoon to be able to compete against that team.
Archie, one of the things you mentioned after Duquesne was, it would be so much easier if you got some defense to offense. The other day I look at 26-5 off turnovers against GW. That's pretty much exactly what you were trying to highlight, wasn't it?
We're not getting enough stops, and I think the game of basketball it's pretty simple. I mean, it's defense to offense, being able to get stops, defensive rebounding, playing without turnovers. But in particular, you can't allow teams to have 1 turnover or 2 turnovers in the game. It's overwhelming. So I thought, our defense was more active. I thought we stayed in front of the ball. We forced some tough drives, but we definitely created some opportunities for ourselves with defense to offense in that game. And the transition game is, I think, where we excel, especially in the second half as the game sort of was, going back and forth and whatnot. I thought our defense created a couple runs in there that we were able to get some of those easy ones that we so desperately, haven't gotten this year. And, hopefully over the back half with the quest that we're on to continue to get better, defensively we can continue to take some steps and strides in that area. It's a challenge for our group. It really is. But by far and away, the second half in particular against GW, we did a much better job of being able to get set and make them play against a set defense a little bit more. And, with their team that night and how they were playing, I thought that we were able to force some tough drives and whatnot. But we rebounded the ball pretty well as well. And, at the end of the day, it really comes down to, can you do the things that, require you to win? And it's take care of the ball, that's rebounding the ball, and we did pretty much both of those in that game.
Coach, given that Matt Cross didn't play last time when you were together, how much importance do you place on the head-to-head, while you're scouting, the head-to-head matchup without him or their last couple of games?
Well, I think, he's a big difference maker for their team. He's by far and away, I would say, if not their most important player, he's sort of their identity. I mean, he plays so hard. He's so physical. He offensive rebounds. He creates a mismatch problem, gives them another bona fide scorer on the floor, which clearly, in game one he wasn't there. But he does so much more for their team. They're going to do what they do. I mean, there'll be some scouting things in the game that they may try to do against us, but we didn't defend the post or rebound the ball effectively against them. We were in foul trouble a lot. It's a very physical game. There's a collision, bodies on the ground almost in every possession when you watch the film. But we're going to have to play a much cleaner game in terms of being able to defend the post. Cohen's really good. Cross adds another guy in there they can really go to. So I think the post is something that's very concerning to us, and also the ability to rebound the ball. But I think we're going to have to run good offense. When you play against UMass, their ability to score off of turnovers, defensive rebounds, they just break games wide open, especially at home. They just get runouts. We can't give them runouts. We have to run strong offense. We have to be able to run good offense. And I think, at the end of the day, control the game a little bit with our offense. We're going to have to really go in there organized. We're going to have to do some things a little bit different than game one defensively, because they do have another guy in there that wasn't there that day. And at the same time, just in watching them play, he's a big part of what they do.
You never don't want to play without David Green, but given that was the case at GW, talk about the raising of the level of performance guys like Zeke and Brandon that we just talked about gave you a game.
Anytime there's an opportunity, and sometimes it doesn't work well over the long haul, but anytime there's an opportunity for guys to step into a role with injury, sickness, whatever it may be, your opportunity to take advantage of that, sometimes is there. And we've been so desperately needing Zeke to play with more confidence, to find his way a little bit more towards what he was in November and December. I mean, coming into conference play, I'm not sure, but he may have been our leading scorer through our non-conference. In conference, he's been non-existent. And I think part of that the other night was extended minutes, fear of not making mistakes. He got going a little bit, and you got a chance to see him kind of regain his composure. Brandon has earned his minutes. Brandon has had a great attitude. I think Brandon, of all people on our team right now, is showing a maturity about sticking with it and the maturity level, but he gives us a more physical body out there. He can rebound the ball. I thought he did maybe a tremendous job playing hard without fouling in the last game defensively. So I think just he has a lot of respect right now from our staff and our players, Brandon, about how he's handled his business. So both of those two guys were instrumental in the game in terms of their quality of play. We're going to need more than that, obviously, as we go on the road, but it was a positive sign. Now, as we get a little bit healthier and you add some more bodies back, those guys now have to regain what these other guys have been going through, which is you just don't step right back into what's going on. You're going to have to earn it the old-fashioned way. And as David gets back off of, health and working through practice, we'll see where he's at always as well. As he works through his shoulder injury, can he get back? But if that's not the case, then Rory Stewart, Connor Dubsky, you name them. I mean, those guys have all got to be ready to go here down the stretch. And in February, God, it's like there's probably 330 teams right now that don't like each other, or the coach doesn't like the players, or the players don't like the coach. We have to avoid being that. We have to continue to work at it. We have to continue to stay with it. We have to continue to have what I keep telling our team, which is a culture of being about the right things. And if you about the right things on a daily basis, the games sort of like take care of themselves. That you're in them, you're competing, you're playing hard, you're getting better. And those are the teams I think that you want to strive to be in February as you head towards the conference tournament and beyond. You want a team that's sticking with it. And I think big game on Tuesday night at GW for just that alone. It's easy to fall off the cliff here every once in a while when you're going through it. And our team's had some rough and tumble times, but we are not going to break in terms of trying to do things the right way. We're going to try to avoid being one of those teams that doesn't like coming to see each other every day at this time of year, because it's very, very challenging as you go through the long season to see light at the end of the tunnel when some things aren't going real well. But you also don't really know how close you are to a breakthrough unless you kind of stay with it. So we can't give up on that process.
You mentioned Connor and Rory. I think every scholarship player had entered the game by the 8, maybe 10 minutes in. Was that planned before the game, or is that a reaction to what you saw?
You know, I think going into the game, not having a front court player available in David, not having a perimeter player available in Always puts you up against the rotation. Connor being able to play some minutes on the perimeter, and us having to play smaller in the game at times just because of the way GW played. And then also being able to get Rory in there a little bit more so we could function, you know, with another front court player in there at times. And, you know, as we go into UMass, I plan on playing everybody that's ready to go.
You mentioned maybe a breakthrough or a step in the process. Where it sits right now, do you think it's a breakthrough or just a step in the process?
It's a step in the process. You know, I think you have to look back on things at the end of when it's complete and say, where were we? You know, my hope is as a staff in February is if there's one thing our coaching staff wants to look back on at the end of the season is that we continue to improve all the way through. It's very important that we do that, and that we don't get frustrated with the results of the game, because part of the results of the game for our group has been the everyday grind. You know, can you have everybody moving in the right direction without distractions, without disappointments? And I think that's where we have to hang our hat right now as a group and say, you know what, we really put our foot down in certain ways. We held our guys accountable to do things the right way every single day. And if they didn't adhere to those, you know, we had to make a stand in terms of guys playing or whatever it may be. But we've got to do things the right way so at the end of the season, we have a way of looking back and saying we stayed with it, you know. And it's right now, it's about today, tomorrow, it's about these 3 days leading in, and then UMass is what it is. You can't worry about UMass right now. You have to worry about the group. You have to worry about, are we doing it right? And the things that we're talking about every single day, are we making sure that guys are checking the boxes in terms of adhering to that? Great programs have a way of doing their business, and you can't change philosophies in the middle of the season. What we have to do is not change philosophies, but we definitely have to clean some things up just in terms of how we go about doing our business. And, you know, maybe we'll be a little bit more consistent in our play, but our improvement should start to show in certain games. And if we're right next 3 days, we'll go into that game confident on Sunday, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may.
The big picture, of course, you want to be playing to win the league and have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. But compared to last season, you already have more overall wins. You've matched your conference win total. You've won more conference road games. When you look back at the end of the year, would you look at those and as you continue the last 9 or 10 games into the A-10 tournament, you look back at that and you think we're taking incremental steps? It's a good thing.
You know, clearly, I think at the end of the day, you started off, like I said, here's where we started, and I think that, what you want to say is progress in year 2. Are we happy with the progress we have right now? Absolutely not. Just in terms of being satisfied. Now, got a long way to go to the finish, and I think we'll evaluate that at the finish afterwards and see where we're at. But part of where we're at in terms of progress is, do we have things going in the right direction in terms of how we want to do things? And it's not about just assembling teams to play the season. That's so much about what it's kind of been about here at the beginning is bodies, get bodies, get bodies. Part of it is development of the bodies. Part of it is returning the bodies. Part of it is continuing to grow in guys who have been there through some tough times, who have shown the way that, boy, we can work through things. They kind of know how to do it. But no question about it, when you look at a year ago where we're at, you look at where we're at now, there's been progress. We have a long way to go, and I think at the end of that, how we'll feel about our progress, a lot will be determined in the next 4 or 5 weeks in terms of how we handle our business the next 4 or 5, and then, we'll take inventory. But I'll have more answers for you, I guess, at the end in terms of where we feel we were at and where we feel we need to go. But yeah, definitely, I think, continuing to, strive to be better.
Been a challenging stretch leading up to GW. Did you notice anything on that flight home? out of your guys, like a little sense of, okay, we're starting to get this?
It's no better feeling in the world than winning on the road. I don't know how other coaches feel about it, but sometimes winning at home is a relief. But winning on the road, man, it's exhilarating, and it's a great feeling to be able to take a group and battle the elements and find a way to do it. So we were proud of that. I also think at the end of the game, in that locker room, we felt like we did it the right way. You know, we didn't luck one in, or we had guys, you know, our bench wasn't into it, or guys weren't in tune. I think from leading into the game, during the game, and post-game in that locker room, there was a sense of gratification of how we handled the opportunity. We did it right. And I think, you know, the quest is getting back late on a Tuesday. Now you have some days to recover. Can we do it right again?
What did you see from Zeke the other day that might have been different from
Aggressiveness. You know, I think he's been playing very eggshells, so to speak. You know, both ends of the floor. Worried about making mistakes. Worried about making a shot. Worried about getting beat. Coaching points are coming to him hard during the game because of the mistakes, and he's not really taking those well. I think at the end of the day, what happened for Zeke the other day was there was a freedom that he knew, all right, I got a chance tonight to get some long stretches here, and I'm going to take advantage of it. And I thought he did a great job of being aggressive. He was being more aggressive leading into last week as we played LaSalle, and then even in the Duquesne game, he started to show signs in practice that he's coming back around. And I just think he stayed with it. He's had a good attitude. Good things happen for those guys. Now, clearly, you know, I think most people will say, man, Zeke Montgomery had 30 the other day. It's hard to get 30 points in a game if you're not a good player. And I think he has to remember he's a good player. And I think he has to remember that, like, the bottom line at the end of the day is he's a good player. He needs to continue to work to get hard, but he should have confidence in what he's doing. And, you know, I think if you looked at us coming into conference play, you would have said Montgomery, wow, he scores the ball, he can drive the ball, he can shoot the ball. Through conference play, most players, people were watching him, probably thinking of him a little bit different. But if we could ever get him going consistently here down the back stretch, boy, our team could be a lot different. And I'd say the same about a lot of different things. I'd like to keep Brandon in the same mode that he's in as well. He can rebound the ball. He's a bigger body for us. He adds some value there. But I just think aggressiveness, confidence, most importantly, belief. I'm a good player.
Yeah, Brandon, he really embraced the defensive challenge with Bishop.
He did. I think, you know, Brandon's identity for our team right now is a guy that's been there a year ago, kind of, you know, he's a little older. But I think more importantly, Brandon has kind of like stepped up as a guy on the team that guys really respect how he practices. And I think he really played smart at GW. He didn't foul jump shooters. He didn't overly be aggressive when he doesn't need to. I thought he took the challenge, put a bigger body on somebody in front of him and kept them in front of him for most of the game. It's 6 rebounds in the game. So I like where that's at. And I just think in general, Brandon has a good way about him just in terms of he's going to go in there right now, and I think everybody kind of knows what you're going to get. That's important.
Expectations for David to play against UMass?
Dave Green, I haven't seen him. He was sick all last week through the LaSalle and through the Duquesne game. Felt terrible. Got worse through the weekend. And then at the end of the day, it made no sense for him to travel Monday based on where he was at. I do believe he's feeling better. I do believe he's going to have to work his way back conditioning-wise through the practices next few days. We'll see what he can do. But I don't really have an answer if he'll be available on Sunday until he kind of goes through the next few days. But definitely was ill for about a week. And, you know, I just think, you know, hopefully he's getting over it. It's that time of year, traveling, weather, whatever it may be. It's just you're going to go through it. We had a number of guys. Zeke was actually going to GW in the same boat as him. He just made the trip. So luckily he was on the plane.
Playing sick is the key, I guess.
Yeah. It's that time of year. You got to be able to deal with it. But
It's a 30-point seat on that plane.
Had his
good.
Jordan flu game?
Yeah, I guess it's good. It's good. I didn't say both you guys sit it out on this one, but we see one of them. But don't be surprised. We'll go on Sunday, and who knows what will happen over the next 3 days. But every coach, every team kind of deals with it this time of year. But we'll see Dave. He's got to work his way back into practice. If he's practicing regularly and going into Sunday as a part of what we're doing, we'll have him available.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.